Hey guys, welcome back to PAC Talk with me, your host, Piet. I am here today with Laura Hood. Hey Laura,
Hello.
how you doing?
Good.
Laura has been with us since the beginning of PHAROS. She is our longest standing employee. And Emylee has a saying, there's not a day goes by when I don't thank God for Laura. This business truly would not have become what it is without Laura. She is very much kind of like the behind the scenes backbone of the company. The company is basically run by three women, and they just keep me around for my amazing good looks. But really, they run the company, and they do an amazing job. And in 2020,
Yep.
so in 2020, Laura, after being with us for 3 years, decided to move to Austin. And obviously, that was the first time we'd ever kind of had a remote position at PHAROS. Like up until that point, everyone had like lived and worked within the building and within Los Angeles. And I remember texting you and saying, it makes me feel really uncomfortable to do this without you. Is there something we can kind of work out that you could still work for PHAROS remotely? And we worked it out, and that's what we did. And thank God we did, because like I said, this whole thing wouldn't work without you. So let's just talk a little bit about that. Like when you decided to move to Austin out of Los Angeles, I know you love Los Angeles and you love California. How was that move, and how was it adjusting to that kind of life where you were working remotely and not being in a gym? Because I know you've been in the gym for a long time, and how challenging was that? And just so you guys know, obviously Laura has a big family. At that point, you had two kids, and now
I
you
was
have three.
pregnant with number two.
You were pregnant with number two, and now they have Blake, of course, Laura's husband. They have three kids, three boys. So they're a boy family like we are,
Yep.
which comes with huge challenges as well. So how was that transition?
Yeah, it was a lot to figure out the logistics of how it was going to happen, and I think honestly everybody on the planet was going through something similar. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
And we had anticipated that at some point in our lives we would move to Austin. My husband has family in Texas, and when we started having kids, we just wanted to prioritize a slightly slower pace of life and being closer to family. So that was sort of loosely in motion. But then the pandemic happened, and like everybody, we were really faced with like, what are we doing here? Is this how we want to be living? Is this how we want to be raising our kids? And my husband is in real estate, so that was just really scary, and it kind of pushed all of that timeline up quite a bit and very rapidly. So I think there was just so many question marks, no idea how it was all going to turn out. But working for PHAROS was what I wanted to be my constant throughout that. Like I just knew that I was in this with you guys for the long haul, and I know none of us knew how that would work out or if it would work out, but we were all on the same page about wanting to figure out if it could.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just taking it day by day, and yeah.
And I think it's important to understand, and if anybody out there who's going through what we go through, and maybe own a gym or a similar business, like sometimes you bring on employees and you don't really know where that role is necessarily going to go, but you just know that they're great people and they're going to be an asset to the business. And we always have a thing, of course, we try and put round pegs in round holes, and don't try and like force people into positions they don't want. But with Laura, her position really grew organically, from kind of front desk management to operations manager. I mean, we didn't hire Laura as an operations manager. She basically invented that role. And I wrote a piece this weekend for the PAC perspective, and I talked about you because it was kind of like sometimes people build the role that they want, and you learn what their skills are as they go. And Laura, by her own admission, was kind of shit at customer facing, but was but was an absolute
I'm
wizard. An
introvert.
introvert. So, but is a wizard with the spreadsheets. Like my joke was like, she's great between the spreadsheets. Yeah. So that became that role kind of built itself out. It's just like everything that I'm bad at and everything that Emylee needs help with is a lot of that kind of like planning, spreadsheets, the big kind of like financial picture, um, you know, payroll, all those like back end things that are really challenging as a business, and things that have to be done, and things that are not my skill set, and things that Emylee doesn't need to be focusing on as a CEO necessarily. So Laura, kind of created her own role, built that role out, and used her skill set, and we relied on her assets to build a whole kind of like wing of the company. And like we said, it's a wing that lives in Austin. But it works just so well because we all get on really well as friends, but also we all fill in the gaps. Basically, you have gaps in your skill set and in your personality that just aren't suited to certain things, and you have to find the good people to fill those gaps and to be those people, because you're not going to be able to do it all yourself, obviously, especially when, as we are now, like this kind of like bigger company, we have the 4 gyms now and we're growing all the time. And, as we grow, we are trying to refine, what people's roles are and, how people can truly help us build this thing. And it becomes less about, hiring employees to do a job on a daily basis, more about like, who can we help build this vision? Because we have a big vision and we have a big dream, and it takes great people to help us build that dream. And Laura's one of those great people. How's that growth been from your perspective and seeing it all happen?
Oh man, it has been a whirlwind.
It's a lot to deal with me and Emylee, because me and Emylee are both Aries. We're both like, we're doing this now we're doing this.
Lots
And
of
Laura's like,
ideas.
what are we doing? What's happening? So yeah.
I think I feel like you said, our working relationship since the beginning has been really strong, and we've all been on the same page about the vision and kind of how we work together and what our separate skill sets are and how that can flow and create something really big and really great. And it felt like we kind of established all of that with Echo Park, with our first location, and that as we added locations and expanded, that like structure, that like underlying rhythm and routine that we were in was there. And we quickly realized that was great and that was foundational, but it was not enough to scale a business. And I think that has been like the biggest learning curve, was just not necessarily building how we run a gym, but how that can translate to running 4 gyms, because we are a much larger organization now. We have more employees. We have similar operations at these 4 locations, but they all have different needs. They're all different sizes. They all serve different communities. So figuring out like how being really great at running a gym translates to scale. And I know that's a really common, issue that small businesses bump into, is like they think they have their ducks in a row and then they expand. And a lot of the time, it's really challenging, and you have to work through totally different challenges than you have in the past. So it's been a really good growing opportunity for me. Also, I've learned so much. This has been basically my whole adult career has been working with you guys. I was in the fitness industry prior to PHAROS, but it was really only just like my first few years out of college. So
shout out to CrossFit Hollywood.
CrossFit Hollywood, Andy Thompson.
OG. Yeah, and again, to anybody, who's maybe starting a gym or is in the gym business, like there's so much that you don't know when you first go into it that we didn't necessarily understand and you didn't comprehend. And, the longer it goes on, the more you try and systemize things. And ours is particularly challenging because we do have different locations that have, a slightly different function, a slightly different need, a different clientele, and a slightly different build out. We've learned as we've gone, and I think Palm Springs, is going to be the best kind of like functional build out and systemized facility we have. And we're still learning with that. It's not like that's all perfected either. And a lot of it, you kind of learn as you go. And we've worked with some great people over the years, and we're working with some great people now. Shout out to the Business of Strength, who are helping us kind of like refine what we're doing and be better at it. But it's not like anybody goes into any of this. I mean, maybe somebody does, but I don't know anybody that like has like everything, all their ducks in a row, everything like defined from the beginning, and just like implemented that plan. A lot of it you kind of figure out as you go, and it really is kind of like, you kind of wing it to some extent, and then try and
the industry changes, or there's a pandemic, like you have to have some adaptability.
I mean, honestly, that's the wildest thing for us. Like we've been through so many challenges, that you never anticipated. You thought you could just go open something to do with fitness, and it was going to be about health and fitness. It's going to be our classes and stuff, and then it's really about like money and the pandemic and about strikes and about all these and the fire, all these different things that come into your business that you never expected. And now you have to kind of like pivot and figure things out and find money and find people and find a way to get through these obstacles and these problems. And again, it's something you can never really anticipate and never really, predict. And it just kind of happens, and you have to have the strength and I guess it's just fortitude to get through it, because, we've all had days like when we looked at each other and we were like, I don't know how we get through this. I mean, I've had many a meltdown. Laura's took me off many a cliff. It's like, Pete, it's going to be all right. Like, we'll just do this, we'll do that. But it is, that's why you need great people around you. Because again, if I would have left to my own devices, I would have like capitulated a long time ago. So thanks to Laura and Emylee.
And Emylee, one of her slogans for our clients is try to just do 1% more every day, get 1% better every day. And that totally applies to running a rapidly changing, growing business. Like we just have to do what's in front of us and work towards getting better and improving and fixing things every single day. And the systems happen over time. Like it's just too much to do all at once. And I think we've done a good job of, adapting as we go and just really prioritizing what's the thing that we can do today to make this better, to make this run better, to make it more effective, to make it more efficient, to make it more streamlined. And yeah.
What do you think our biggest mistake has been? And not regrets, because you can't regret things because they, but what do you think our biggest mistake was?
Oh my gosh. I think probably in terms of like regrets or mistakes that I feel like I've made, big picture ones, I think that being overly confident in our ability to scale and realizing that it's not just Pete or me or Emylee or a great GM. We have a great GM at all of our locations. Like it's not just the people higher up training the people lower down and like having a great team. There has to be written down concrete structure and processes or it's not scalable. And I think we really were running a great business at Echo Park, still are, and thought that that was enough. And I remember, when we were considering buying the Redondo location and looking for locations in Palm Springs, we were all really confident that we could do it, not easily. We knew it would be a lot of work, but that we had our systems in place enough and they were strong enough and robust enough that we could just kind of copy and paste. And that has just proven not to be the case. And we've had to build so much on the fly as we're doing it live. And I think like just taking that extra time and having that extra awareness of what actually having a system and a process and a business structure means. And that it's not just something that we're like living and doing. It literally needs to be written down. It literally needs to be copy and pasteable.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely that getting things down in writing. And also for me, I think the biggest mistake I've made, and I think Emylee will say the same thing, is probably assumptions and communication. Like sometimes when you run a business like this, you assume people know what you're talking about. You assume people know what we're trying to communicate. And then you have conversations with your team and like, oh no, this isn't right at all. Like we haven't communicated this well at all. And of course that leads to frustrations and people feeling like they either weren't included or they didn't understand and so weren't set up for success. And those things. So the further we get into this, the more we need to we understand that communication, having crystal clear communication about what you want to say and what the brand stands for, what the brand wants to communicate, who we are as who we are as a brand, who we are as people, and what we want this business to be, needs to be kind of very, very crystal clear. And I think sometimes it's easy to assume, like even as simple as like, how would you talk about this class, or how would you talk about the Limitless Challenge, or whatever it is? Like you assume people know, and you trust that they do, and then when you ask them, it's like, oh no, this wasn't what I wanted. So
and you can see that like the trajectory of where like role playing in our staff meetings and our training processes, like that's always been something, especially Emylee really leans heavily on that. But that is something now that we do almost daily in staff meetings, like just role play everything, have every employee repeat something back to you to make sure that even if it's not a script, even if it's in their own words, everyone is truly understanding and grasping the point of the Limitless Challenge, the major sales pitch of the limit, like all of those things, so that it is cohesive and clear.
Yeah. It's super important because, again, the bigger the company gets, the more people that are in the fold, the easier it is to get miscommunication, and the easier it is to, send out the wrong messages or, just not do things as well as you want them to be done. And then again, you get frustrated and then you're like, oh my God, how did this happen kind of thing. So I think constantly like just checking back in with yourself and then saying like, did I do a good job here? Did I really communicate this well? And often the answer is no, like I didn't communicate it as well as I thought I did, or as well as I should have. And then you kind of like, then you're trying to fix it after. Whereas if you'd done it right from the beginning, it would have been a way better story. So I think that's something I think we're all learning
Yeah.
as we go. And again, super important to the overall, not just growth, but like, we're all in this because we love this. We love fitness. We love community. We love building these things. And again, all this other shit happens and kind of like throws you off. But at its heart, like, we believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when things don't go the way that you want, like when you feel like you're going off path, you start to, you get further and further away from your vision that you originally were trying to build. So you always have to come back to the vision, which is why we're always going back and looking at our, like, our company at heart and what it really means to be at PHAROS, and what an employee of PHAROS is, what a member of PHAROS is, and what we want to put out into the world, and to make that message clear. And part of it is, of course, it's a business, so it has to make money. It has to be function as a business, so it has to be profitable, or has to at least pay the bills. And then beyond that, it's like, are we building something we can be proud of, and that we can look back in 10 years and think, my God, we built something very, very special, and it really helped a lot of people, really touched a lot of people's lives, and really created some moments that were defining moments in their lives. And that's the effect we want to have, right? We didn't get in this thing to make money. I'd love to make some money at some point, but it really was. I always said, like, I love fitness, I love working out, but really I love people, I love community, and it really was like, let's build something that brings people together through fitness, and that people can just have a good time, and it not just be about like reps and sets and weights and eat this, eat that, do this, do that, but about coming together of good natured people for a great time. And I think broadly we've managed to achieve that. And we've had some great moments over the years, and some great people over the years, and we've all come together a lot. But we've all been through a lot together. Like, it's weird, you go through, not just as an employee and as a management team, and as someone who works for PHAROS, but as a community, we all went through these things together. Like, we all went through the pandemic together. We've all just been through the fires together. You go through these life experiences together, and the gym becomes really important. Like, it becomes like a church. It becomes like a place to congregate and to get together and to share moments and share sad stories and good stories, and all that stuff. And even though Laura isn't in the gym on a daily basis, I know she still like feels that. She's still like a part of that. And Laura has her own. Laura trains at a really good CrossFit gym in Austin. What's it called? Is it CrossFit Austin?
CrossFit Central.
CrossFit Central. And I'm sure they have a similar thing there. But when you have a company like PHAROS, and you're trying to be that kind of a company, like a human experience company, I think everyone that's involved feels connected, or some kind of connection in that way, that makes it more than just a place to work out, but to really, again, share a valuable human experience, and to get over things like the countless things over the years of, like, lost a loved one, or a relationship failed, or a business failed, or a venture failed, or something went wrong, or whatever it is. I feel like our gym, and of course not just our gym, but many gyms, can be very cathartic. They can be very important to bring people together. I mean, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but especially, during the pandemic, when it was very isolating for a lot of people, it was a really hard time for many people on a personal level. They felt very alone. A lot of people said, like, the hour they came to the gym was the only hour they saw anybody, got to have any kind of like relationship with anybody, had any kind of social interaction. And it really highlighted for me the importance of the gym, and to have the gym as an outlet. It's not just, like I said, reps and sets and what to eat and what not to eat. It really is about people, and it really is about community. And since the beginning, we've always tried to create that, preach that, own that, and give that as a gift to our membership, and the people that we meet on a daily basis. And everyone that comes through the door, I hope they experience that at some point and know that's what we're trying to do.
I think that's been another big learning curve for all of us in the scaling process as well. Is like, we are in this, like Pete said, because regardless of our separate backgrounds and how we fell into the fitness industry, we just love being at the gym. We love working out. We love the communities. I met my husband at the gym. Many of my friendships started at the gym. Like, I think that we all can experience just the joy and the excitement of walking through those doors every day, regardless of what your gym is, like if it's a good one. that good day or bad day, like you're just pumped to be there and it makes you feel better. And so that is definitely why we're all in this industry, why we're what we're wanting to create. And that is hard when you're not physically at a space. And of course, I'm in Texas, so I'm not there at all to contribute really other than back end systems to the community. And then Pete and Emylee can't be at all four places at all times. So often we're trying to figure out how to maintain that community atmosphere, that priority for our staff, for our members, that everybody still has that experience while not actually being able to be directly part of the community or as much as we would like to be. So that's been a really interesting thing to try to like, how do you systemize something that's sort of like ethereal and relationship based, you know?
Yeah. If you were to, it's a hard thing to summarize, but if you were to kind of summarize your role as operations manager, how would you kind of define it? If you met someone in a bar and they said to you, what do you do? You said, well, I'm an operations manager first. And they said, what's that? Like, how would you define
Yeah.
that?
Man, well, working for a small business, an operations director, I think at least in my trajectory and my role and my experience has just been like the person who wears all the hats that no one else is wearing. That means I do a lot of finance. I do, our budgets and our KPI setting and our profit and loss. I'm not the accountant. We have an accountant, but I'm very involved in the finance piece of it. Of course, operations. So building, employee handbooks and checklists and all sorts of like back end stuff to make the wheels turn. HR, I do all of our HR, which has definitely been another learning curve for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think just really like being the support for Pete and Emylee and kind of like trying to bring their ideas down to earth a little bit and figure out what's realistic, what will work budget wise, what's the implementation plan, and just trying to like make things a little bit more concrete. And yeah, I'm in lots of meetings every week. I kind of manage the management team, so I wear a lot of hats. I just do a little bit of everything that needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big part of it is like meeting the managers, and because everybody needs someone to kind of like be accountable to kind of like ask questions to, and if it's not me and Em, it's Laura. And like I said, Laura can answer a lot of the questions. Like Laura knows more about this business than I know about it, to be frank. Like if there's a number question or a membership like number question, or where we're at as a business, it's really hard when you're just in it all the time to kind of like see the big picture from the outside. And I think actually you being in Austin, I think is almost a better thing because you can kind of look at it more objectively from the outside.
Yeah.
And see, you can see that picture of it. Whereas sometimes when I'm in it just all the time, it's really hard to get clear and see it from an objective perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not objective because you're involved as well, so you're still subjective. But
I'm also not an owner, so I definitely have a different perspective just because of that lens, which I think is helpful. Because
yes, it is.
It
is
feels like slightly less. Not that I'm not emotionally invested. I absolutely am. I've been with you guys since the beginning. Like this is my job, my passion, but I have less of the burden on my shoulders compared to you and Emylee. So I think sometimes I'm able to just offer a little bit more of a logical perspective.
Sometimes the stress of that is overwhelming, and it's really helpful to have someone who doesn't necessarily feel that stress, although of course you feel some stress, but like it allows you to not be like under this kind of like heaviness. Laura, like I said, is also a mother of 3 boys. How the hell do you manage, because Blake works full time too, obviously. How do you manage your day-to-day, and obviously Laura works out consistently, so how are you managing that whole life?
I think there are a lot of challenges to working remotely, and I don't think everybody's temperament allows for that to be a sustainable option for them. But like I said in the beginning, I'm an introvert. I love being around people. I'm not, I don't want to be at home behind my computer all day, every day, but I do thrive doing that. And I think the fact, between my personality type, being okay with working from home and being roughly isolated most of the time, and then like us being able to figure out the logistics of that has really allowed me as a mom of 3 young kids to continue to have a career, because I know so many women and men, just parents in general at this phase, like feel like they're kind of forced to get pushed out of the workforce because it is next to logistically impossible. if you have two parents who are in an office from 9 to 5 and can't have the flexibility if the kid gets sick, can't have, the flexibility of figuring out after school care, all of those things. It's just, it wouldn't be possible if I didn't have the flexibility of a remote job. And it just means that, the balancing looks like sometimes I wake up at 5 a.m. to finish payroll. Often I do that. Sometimes I work after kids go to bed. And I think, not that it's all about like hustling, it's just trying to balance within a day. I have to do 8 hours of my job, and then I have the realities of parenthood, and that changes every day. And being able to kind of go with the flows of that rhythm, um, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, but I'm super grateful for the flexibility and just how it has evolved over these last few years, because I probably couldn't do it without that.
Yeah.
That just the demands of parenthood at this age are so high
Yeah.
in terms of time commitment and just like crazy logistics that you're trying to figure out all the time.
Yeah, because you have school and then you have
Yeah.
after school clubs and
Just so
then
many things.
like Wyatt's in jiu-jitsu now and your kids are in different sports and it's,
Yeah.
you're constantly juggling. And it's hard because like, and I'm sure you guys can relate, like sometimes you listen to podcasts and people talk about their, like how you should live your day. And it's like, oh, I get up here and then I do my hour of meditation, then I do my ice bath, then I have my sauna, and then I go here and I do this, and then I work on myself, and I take it. And it's like, if someone doesn't have kids, like it's a different life.
Yeah.
Like you can't live that, you can't be that selfish when you have kids. Like you're living but under different rules. So I think it's really helpful to hear from people like Laura who do it all and do manage it like that, and are able to kind of like juggle and just understand that there are realities to your life when you have a family that don't allow you to just clock in and clock out at like a very fixed schedule, because you're always on the move.
Yeah.
Oh, the kid's sick, you gotta, oh, but school's closed, suddenly you got the kids. It's like, oh my god, how do we deal with this
Yeah.
situation?
There's
You
like a vacation, I mean, a holiday a month that you don't
Yeah,
realize
that you
until you're a
don't know
parent.
about.
You're
Yeah,
like, what? Another
yeah,
holiday?
there's another teacher training day that no one told you about. It's like, oh my god, now we
Yeah.
got the kids. So you have to think on the fly. So again, I think sometimes people, and it's very easy. Again, social media is such a mind fuck sometimes, because so much of the stuff you get, you're like, well, this person seems to have it all under control. And you know and often that's because either they don't have the same demands that you have, or they're just lying, which is often the case, or it's just like, it's just a rose colored picture of someone's life
Yeah.
that isn't really true, which is usually the case.
Yeah.
But
I've really always had a just internal motivator to have a career that I'm excited about and proud of. And I didn't realize that I would kind of stumble into the fitness industry, but I did. And I really love it. And I, got pregnant 3 times in a 3-year period. And every time was like, I don't want to give this up. And I think you have to have a job that you care about, and you have to have bosses that are willing to work with you and figure out the logistics and the compensation and all of that to make childcare for 3 a reality, because that is also not cheap. And I've just been really lucky that they have been willing to do that with me, and also that I have that internal motivator that I'm going to fight for it, because it would be easy in a lot of ways to just be like, this is too much, and it is a lot. But I just really have always known that certainly there's nothing wrong with just being a parent and just focusing on that, especially in these early years, because they are so demanding. But I just really knew I didn't want to do that. And it takes a lot of drive and fighting for it, but
yeah,
I'm doing it.
Laura came to see our Palm Springs location for the
Yes.
first time yesterday. What did you think?
It was amazing. Oh, it was so good. So I've seen it a gazillion times on Zoom, on FaceTime, and photos and videos. But it is just so exciting to walk in that building and feel how massive the space is, how much has been done, even though it's been a really grueling, frustratingly slow process in these last 6 months of thinking it was going to be done forever ago. And here we are. But it really is coming together, and it's just going to be it already is such an incredible facility. Like, it is kind of mind-blowing how amazing that space is.
Yeah, and what I love about it as well, I mean, there are big gyms all over the place. Of course, you go to a Lifetime or any of those big gyms. But what I love about it, I mean, like we always say, we still consider ourselves to be a mom and pop shop of gyms. So we're a small company, we're a local company. We love incorporating like local artists and local like feelings into the place, and try and capture like what that town is about, what that area is about. And when you walk into that building, and we're still doing stuff to it. But it will feel like you're in Palm Springs. It will be quintessentially like a Palm Springs gym, even though it's a Pharos, and even though, of course, we have our own branding, which is kind of universal. Every gym kind of feels like it belongs where it is. Whether it's like the Idlewild gym, feels like a mountain gym. You've been to the Idlewild gym before, so this was like, but
no, I hadn't been before, not before this trip. I'd never been to Idlewild before this trip.
No,
I know.
yeah. So first time at Idlewild gym. So what do you think of the Idlewild gym?
It is. I mean, I think the opposite. It's not like grand when you walk in and mind-bogglingly huge and beautiful, but it just feels like I think that's probably one of our strengths in the build out is just like making the space match the community and the vibe and like the color choices and the architecture and like how we've approached that. It just fits so perfectly here. It feels like the cutest and beautiful and like high end still, but like little cabin gym.
Yeah, little cabin gym. Yeah, I love that gym. So today you took Emylee's class. Yesterday took my class. Who was better?
Okay, I cannot answer this, but I did tell you that you had taught the perfect class yesterday.
I'm joking. I mean, this is the thing with me and Em. Like, we love coaching. Like, this is how we got into this whole thing in the first place. We both love it, and it's a real, as difficult as it is sometimes. And I know a lot of people, like a lot of advisors will say, you and Emylee should not be teaching classes anymore. You should be focusing on the big picture. You should be focusing on this and focusing on that. I get that, but it's like, I love when I get to jump in and coach because it is like, it's what I fell in love with in the first place. And I love being able to interact with the members and the membership and meeting new people and having conversations, and not necessarily conversations about fitness. It's like, yeah, I like fitness, but I want to talk about other stuff as well. Like, I want to figure out like how your day was. Did you watch this? Did you watch that? What are you listening to? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, that to me is like way more fun. Like, sure, I'll answer questions about fitness if people want to know about fitness, but it's much more interesting to me to learn about people and their stories and stuff. And it's hard to get that when you're not like coaching, because that's where you get the banter. That's where you get, the stories and, whether it's in the warm up or the cool down, whatever it is, like that's where you really like learn about people.
Yeah.
And that's super fun for both.
And remind yourselves why you're doing this. Like,
right. Remind yourselves why you're doing it, because it's fun. And also like taking classes. Like, I love taking our own classes. It's so fun for me. Again, because you have those conversations and then you get to have banter with the coaches that you've hired and you kind of see how they are and what makes them tick. And, I never understand it when coaches or owners of gyms don't do their own classes or don't like participate in those like community like classes anymore, because it's just the most fun for me.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I just love it. So it's been great to have you in those classes so you can like get a little taste, to have you back in the Pharos fold.
Yeah.
And we're going to go down to LA tomorrow, and we're going to see our whole team in LA tomorrow, which is going to be fun for us all. We're going to have a big team meeting. Bolt are going to do some lunch, which is going to be awesome. And then Friday we'll go to Redondo for the Redondo location, which you haven't been to.
I have been to Redondo. Yes.
Sorry.
The one. No, I've been to Echo Park many
just
times,
once. You've been to Redondo, right?
Right.
And then we'll all do Friday Night Lights together, and Blake will come too, and Blake will do Friday Night Lights. Yep. So that'll be super fun. So we will have worked out in 4 gyms in
4 days.
4 days, which was always the dream, right? We've gone from desert to mountain to city to sea in 4 days.
Yeah,
which is super fun.
Yeah, it's been a great trip. And, seeing the facilities and taking the classes, all of that is great. But really, meeting staff that I have Slacked or emailed or talked to on Zoom dozens of times, but never met in person, even some that I've been working with for years and never gotten an opportunity to meet in person. And then of course, just like having little conversations with members and overhearing, just being, kind of a bird on the wall, and what is that phrase? Fly on the wall. Thank you. And hearing conversations about people's experiences and just their excitement over the new gym, or, their gratitude in Idlewilds for just having a gym in general and having coaches that care. And I think you really get to feel like viscerally what an impact we're making.
Yeah.
And that's just the most special part.
And I think on a personal level, just for you to connect, like with us, with them, Zoom's one thing, and Zoom's been great for businesses because it's really helped, communication, but there's nothing like in person. Yeah. This is why, like, online programming can be fine, and like working out at home can be fine, but there truly is nothing like connection and actually like meeting people in person and having conversations and looking someone in the eye when you have a conversation. I know I'm on a podcast right now, so I'm not really looking you in the eye, but you know what I mean.
I don't like the camera, so
Yeah. But it's different, and it's really important. This is why I think, you know, a lot of companies are trying to get people back in the office or wherever, and I get both sides. Like it's for some people that have moved away, like it just doesn't work for me anymore, and I get that too. But I do understand why people do want people to meet each other in person, to have conversations in person, because it is a different thing, and it is a different feeling. And to have you here is super special for me, and I know for Emylee, and it really does make a difference. So I'm super grateful that you came.
Yeah.
And of course, I love Austin. You guys know Austin's one of my favorite places in the world. It's the city I fell in love with first when I first started coming to America. I've told you this story, I think, on the podcast before, but I used to take groups from the UK on boxing trips to Austin, and we'd stay in Austin, right by the lake, and we'd run in the morning around the lake, and then we'd go to the CrossFit gym, and we do CrossFit in the gym, or we do like some kind of workout, or we do boxing, whatever it was in the day. And then in the evening, we would go out and have dinner somewhere and see music somewhere. And of course, coming from the UK, it's such a different landscape.
Yeah.
It's such a different climate. It's such a different thing, such a different experience. It was just magical, and I loved it. And of course, you know, I'm a big Western guy, and I love country music and all that stuff. So Austin was like, it was just like a dream for me. So I have a very, you know, I'm very in love with that place. So do you think a gym like PHAROS would work in a place like Austin?
I mean, I know we daydream about that always, but I do. I think that I mean, honestly, Pharos is such a unique, perfect, in my opinion, concept for a gym, because it's really trying to just pull everything that's great about all of these different gym models, a Globo gym, a CrossFit gym, you know, and pull everything that's great about those things and try to just bring the best into one. And we've done that in very different ways at the 4 locations that we have, but just that concept of being like, and also like on another level, I think we accomplished that by being something sort of like a higher end corporate type gym, but family owned, community oriented. So you really get the best of those worlds as well. So this, you know, this hybrid model in so many different ways, I think will do well anywhere. And we've seen that in Southern California. I mean, we have very different markets for our 4 locations, and we've been able to, you know, make it work and adapt to where we're at. And I definitely don't see why we couldn't do that in Austin. Plus, Austin is just still exploding, and there's so many people there and demand for everything.
What do you guys think? Should we go to Austin? We'll see. The only problem with Austin is there's a lot of gyms, right? There's a lot of
There
gyms
are
in
a
that
lot of
town.
gyms.
Yeah, which can be seen as good or bad. Like Starbucks always moves into towns where there's a lot of coffee shops, but
there's a lot of gyms in LA too. So
there's a lot of gyms in LA. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you.
Laura's awesome. And if you're in Echo Park tomorrow, we'll see you. Or this podcast won't come out till next week. So
I hope I see you.
Laura might see you, like, or have seen you already, Echo Park or Redondo. So if you do see her, hopefully you said hi and were nice to her. I'm sure you will be. But yeah, come check out Palm Springs. It's an awesome gym. It's you know, by far and away like kind of the best thing we've ever done. And I think you guys will really dig it. And you know, I think it's been probably the hardest. I said in this the thing that I was writing the other day. I think the hardest year of our life was 2017 when we were trying to get the first gym open, because it was like the same story, like all kinds of permitting issues, city issues, contract. We went through 3 different contractors. They were all useless. And we all thought we were going to die of like heart attacks. And Jeff had an infection in his eye and got bitten by a dog. And all kinds of weird, all kinds of weird stuff happened. And it was just a super hard year, even though it was like an amazing time. Like I got married, and like I was just like falling in love with like LA and America and my wife and all this stuff. And there was a bunch of cool stuff happening, but it was still like super stressful. And this last year has been like similar, like just such a hard year, just financially, and dealing with the stress of, you know, opening a gym and contractors and city and permits and all that kind of stuff. It's just been so hard. But at the same time, it's like we built something incredible. And I know I'll look back in like a few years' time and kind of laugh at my, you know, the absurdity of my stress levels, and you know, just be proud of what we did and what we built. And so I'd love for you guys to come and see it. and just give me your feedback. A bunch of you guys have already come out from Echo Park. A bunch of you come from Redondo and Idlewild, and that's awesome. It's great to have like members from other clubs coming to the new club. So come check that out, and yeah, we'd love to have you there. Idlewild also, if you want to come for a little break in the mountains, come check out the mountain gym. Idlewild, it's awesome. If you want to go to the beach, go to Redondo. Awesome beach gym there. Love that gym. Love working out there. Can't wait to see you guys on Friday. And of course, Echo Park, our original baby, 1316 Glendale Boulevard. Fantastic gym, like everything you'd want, and we were making it better all the time, even though it's older. Obviously, it was built in we started in 2016, opened in 2017. We're making improvements all the time. We've got some big plans for this next year, so it's got what you need, it's got what you want. So come check it out. Yeah, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.